programs here. They have their drama program here, and this is right in the middle of their season, of their drama season.
Naturally. Did you bring a screwdriver?
No, I asked you if, or somebody, if they had a screwdriver. I don't have one.
I don't know. We have screws in the board, most likely where the black was, right?
No, I don't know, because I didn't take that off. You came in with Jeff to take care of it. That's why I had no idea.
Right, right. No, I have it because they were gonna do it before, so I've been holding it.
Let me just start this here.
Oh, look in there afterwards. Boy, oh, yeah. We were here during the rehearsal when we were looking to see if the.
Oh, so you saw it a little bit.
Don't touch.
So who's giving the announcements tonight? Are you or did you get the email from Jordan? Okay, let's see when it's gonna be.
Otherwise, I will pull up my phone and take a photo.
No, I have, figured it out, so.
That's all, right. But they're kind How are you? Good. I know. I was like, okay, and I'm driving. It's Friday. What's the thing? This is no, it's Wednesday.
Sound check.
It's Monday, Tuesday.
Sound check.
Wait a minute, it's not Friday, what day? Oh, we still have Thursday and Friday of this week. Thursday and Friday. Right, right, right. Well, I think that Rosh Hashanah does, and I think young people. Right. That's what I'm saying. That's the house part of the mom. Stuff going on. I was wondering because on USG at some point started taking the first day Rosh Hashanah and young people. And I think that Alicia, when she went, I don't know if it was in middle school, because she was in day school up until sixth grade. But and I don't think it was the first year, but I think it was the second year that they began to take on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Interesting. Right, right, right. Of course, that's what yeah. I'm also wondering if somebody in Connor schools, which are still coming. Good to see you. The interesting thing is I don't have now. Now the March. And it says free tuition. And then my baby said IBM charter school. And I knew that it was really interesting, but to say tuition free TK to 8th grade. What it But it's so misleading, because I didn't see the charter school at first, I thought I'd be. They have. So, it actually. We, somebody who's known for decades, who was a teacher in the middle school, and she. He doesn't have a. I listened to him, and I said, what do you do? We don't know. He doesn't tell me, so I can hear.
Well, you don't.
You say we have.
I can find you.
You sound like trying to do what else is doing?
Oh,
That's right. Last week.
I'm sitting back here.
It was great.
Oh,
And that was lovely. And then I went to Syracuse for a day. It was great, but really full, and Bobby is just. No, it's been really good time.
Yeah.
The trip is has been out for 20 minutes. You go up, you go there. It's just. Well, and he's doing it. So we need to just. Yeah, they needed a million for service and David was able to so they called him, he had to work. Right, and. Exactly. It's a leadership. And I'm sitting on the other side of the pizza and comes with this. Right. I mean, that may have been the order. So, well, he didn't, but, well, no, he's working on me. I don't blame him. It's a, she carries the baby for me. She gives me easy. So I tell this to David, he goes, yes, it's Papa. Well, so. Okay, so. The father of the last one started this on 47. He's now 71. His son has had it the last 2 years, but this is his second year. But he got the Bobby so he's had services. And I said, the service finishes. So my father comes over, just shows and shows. And the wife's, the mother's like, come see my.
Oh.
And he said, we observed exactly. And he said, well, you know, because you do things not traditional. No, not even the missionary. He said, you know, you do it because Kohen, Levi, Israel. So you get carried up because of what you're feeling. What, well, you know, what did, yes.
It's been an ongoing thing more than a sort of.
You always do that, right? So, but he was right. In the meantime, I had said to him, oh, it's the young person. I'll be nice. But I didn't because. And they said to me, I said, so what did you think? He said, around Alicia. Now, Alicia is a person. And he said something to me that they were saying that, well, they must have realized. It was David Alicia, that's his whole thing. It's right, it's true. It brings the tour, and I'm ready to go around the corner or something. They bring it, first 2 rows, I think David and God were sitting maybe the fourth, not so many rows. And so. You know what he's so now that they learned this, when they're and he says, so it was just a young woman who came back and she didn't get it. It was Asian height. Yes, I know.
No, but I mean, that's.
I know, because we had that discussion. Shouldn't have to be from the Torah because they don't need that. They're higher, you know, we give them covenant for the civilization side.
Oh, I'm the second.
Not gonna be here. We take out the coffee and we and he says, yes, that's what they do. So, and you know what, they placed it around, and the rabbi not because so
Something on the science that closer.
I mean, go and do it, set the tables in both places and take a look at it. Yes. Yes. When I told the two of these, we make time in many sites, and it's not that you're not. It is. We're so full. Well, you know, yeah. You know that is, you know, when I should have. You know, he did that because they do. Every single word. I mean, I read 2 pages faster. And he said that but even the things they read about are not necessarily English. So. When he was a little kid, he was great. He'd come up and he'd pretend he was playing with the carpet. But it was hard to get so it was, I didn't even get around, so just faster. Dating history to get back, so she just had fast.
Good evening, good yar. You can all take your seats, please. As we set the mood for prayer.
Hi, di die, di die, 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 di die, di die. Hi, di die, 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 die. Hi, di die, di die. I la 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 I di die la 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 I di die I did die, 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 die. I die, die, did die, die. I did die, die, die. I die, die, did die.
Eternal God, as the new year begins, 5785, we have come together to pray as a congregation, yet each of us is strangely solitary in your presence, O Lord. Each of us comes before you with special hopes and dreams. Each of us has personal worries and concerns. Each of us has a prayer no one else can utter. Each of us has praise no one else can offer. Each of us feels a joy no one else can share. And each of us has regrets which others cannot know. And so we pray. If we are weary, give us strength. If we are discouraged, give us hope. If we have forgotten how to pray, remind us. If we have been careless of time, forgive us. If our hearts have been chilled by indifference, warm them with your mercy and inspire us with the glowing spirit of this holy night. As we rise for the Baruch Hu, page 220.
Baruch et Adonai Amecho Baruch Adonai Amecho Leolam
You may be seated. We continue quietly on page 20. The prayer in the middle of the page. Ari Hari.
ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבי.
אמן.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני בשופט ובקודש, נשיח במוכרת ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבת אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך שמו. אמן.
שמע ישראל אדוני ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר מספרך היום על לבביך ושיננת לבביך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לראות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Continue at the top of page 26.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו אולי מי כמוך אלוהים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. לא עושה מלכותך ראו בניך בוקר משה זה אלי עלו ואמרו אדוני ונאמר כי קדע אדוני את יעקב גואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני ישראל.
Amen.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעידנו מלכנו לחיים ושמוע צדקנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום ואדון ואדון. השכיבנו לאדוני אלוהינו לשלום
והעידנו
לחיים. השכיבנו לאדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעידנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Please rise, page 29. Sound the shofar on the new moon, announcing our solemn festival. It is Israel's eternal ritual. The God of Jacob calls us to judgment.
תקעו בחודש שופר, בכסל ליום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל הוא, משפט לאלוהי יעקב. יתקדש ויתקדש שם בן הדבר.
Amen.
ועלמא דברו חירותי, וימליך מלכותי. וחיים ביום אחד, וחיים לכל בית ישראל, וענדה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתפאר שמי דקודשה לעילה מקומך בשירת ושמעת ונאמרת
Pray quietly, pages 30 to 38, and those prayers which are in our hearts, we may be seated upon completion.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Before we do the Kiddush, I share these announcements with you. They have been sent to me by our president, Jordan Distel, who was under the weather tonight. He hopes to be able to join us tomorrow. He is live streaming us tonight, and so I have promised him I will read it verbatim, exactly as he sent it. Welcome to all who have joined with us, both virtually and in person. Rabbi Vorsman will be sharing a special Rosh Hashanah story in just a few moments. We all know how very special Rabbi Vorsman is and how he has been with us for so many years. And I so wish I were there to be able to help. A special thank you to cantorial soloist Ayana Chaviv for her beautiful renditions of the liturgy. Tomorrow morning services will begin at 9:30 with Hamelach. So please pray the early morning prayers at home and join us for an introductory mourner's Kaddish. Please remember to bring your shofar for the shofar service. On Friday, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, we will be offering a contemporary service. Beginning at 10 sharp, this guitar-accompanied full participatory service is so much fun and so spirited. Even those who don't customarily attend second-day services will not want to miss this. Services will be available on our website. All of our services will, www.shirami.com. And all are welcome to join us, whether you have tickets or not, on Friday for the contemporary service. So invite your friends. Remember to bring your talit totes to Kol Nidre services next week. It's the only night of the year that we wear a talit. It's also traditional not to wear leather shoes. Services for Kol Nidre will begin a week from Friday at 6:45. Remember to please bring non-perishable food items for Soba with you to all services. We will also be going for the trifecta this week, or quadrifecta, as after 3 days of Rosh Hashanah services, we have our Shabbat Shuvah service here in this sanctuary, and it will be at 10:30. That will be this coming Saturday. Our board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 9th at 7:30 at Helga's. Please let Helga know if you will be at her home so that no pistachios will have died in vain. And looking a little further into the future, Rabbi and Badi will be hosting a get-together in their sukkah on October 21st at 3 p.m., where you can, in the words of Casey and the Sunshine Band, shake, 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 shake your lulav, shake your lulav. Details are in the shir. Looking a little further out, Mitzvah Day will be on November 3rd. It's going to be at the Jewish Home for the Aging on Victory and Wilbur. We will have a fun-filled time serving pizza, making Hanukkah cards, and playing bingo. People can email or text our social action vice president, Becky Finley, to say that they are coming. Reservations need to be made by October 28th, and $10 will be taken at the door. If you have any questions, just hunt down Becky. And Shana Tova, he concludes. As we now rise for the Kiddush, page 46.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העם, ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום תרועה מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ותברך אל בית וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגדלנו בזמן הזה.
We remain standing for Aleinu, page 48.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא עשנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמת חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו עומדים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני הממלכתי הקדוש ברוך הוא. שמיים יוסף הארץ, ומשה נבחרות לשמיים ממעל, ושכינת חוצו בגודל מרומים. ובאלוהינו אין עוד, את מלכנו אפסולתו, כתבנו בתורתו, ידעת היום להשגותה, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, והארץ מתחתיו. נאמר, והיינה לאדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated. However, if you are in mourning or observing Yahrzeit, remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish on page 50. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbav, v'yalmadi brachi rutei v'yamlich machutei, v'chayecho v'yomecho v'chayecho Beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'yemiru amen. Yehei shmei rabbav v'orach le'olam le'omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'elah le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Amiran Bialma Biamaru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, Chayim Aleinu Bial Kol Yisrael Biamaru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Ramav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu Bial Kol Yisrael Biamaru. Please be seated. It's our tradition for me to tell a story on the first night of Rosh Hashanah. I want to tell you a story straight out of the Talmud, one of the most fascinating of stories. And it goes like this. When Moses ascended on high, when he went up on Mount Sinai, he saw God, the Holy One, blessed be He, and He was writing the Ten Commandments. He was writing the Torah. And as he was writing the Torah, he was adding embellishments to some of the letters. Crowns, and they look like this. You see the crowns above the letters. These will be very important in a moment, so take a good look. See from there. For those of you online. So God is writing the Torah. He's putting all of these embellishments on certain letters. And Moses says to God, God, who's preventing you from giving me the Torah without those embellishments? And God says, well, there's a man who was destined to be born in a few centuries. His name is Rabbi Akiva. And he is destined to learn from every single crown on those letters. He is going to learn heaps and heaps of Jewish law, of halacha. And for his sake, I add those crowns that they are added to the letters of the Torah. So Moses says to God, show him to me. Show me that this Rabbi Akiva that you're doing this for. And God says, turn around. And he turns around. And he ends up in a classroom of Rabbi Akiva. And he goes and he sits in the 8th row. And he's in Rabbi Akiva's classroom in his study hall. And they're talking about law. Moses doesn't understand a word that Rabbi Akiva is saying. And he's sitting there and he's realizing how deficient is his Torah knowledge. And he feels terrible until at one point, at one particular discussion, a student asked Rabbi Akiva, my teacher, where did he get that interpretation of law? And Rabbi Akiva said, it is a law that was transmitted to us by Moses on Mount Sinai. And with that, Moses was comforted. His mind was at ease, as this too was part of the Torah that he was to receive. Now that's an amazing story, because it's like God is putting Moses in this time machine. And Moses goes into the future and he sits there in Rabbi Akiva's class, and he realizes that he didn't have to understand the discussion. He understood that there was going to be built into the system of Jewish law rabbinic development. That if Rabbi Akiva and all of the other generations of rabbis could take from the text, and even from the embellishments to the letters of the text, and take from these elaborations of law, interpretations of law, then this law was going to thrive. Then this law, this expanded law, this interpreted law by the rabbis that was going to be given to future generations, that was the original Torah given to Moses on Mount Sinai, but with development, with interpretation. It's interesting to relate this to what is happening in the Supreme Court today, because 5 of the 9 justices of the Supreme Court don't look at the Constitution of the United States and say, we can do the same thing with the Constitution. What they are constructionists. And what these 5 Supreme Court justices do is they say, we need to figure out what was in the mind of the framers of the Constitution. Because that's what we need to decide is our interpretation of law. Now, we know that that's going to be a problem. Because over 200 years ago, the framers of the Constitution had a very different world than we are living in. They could not have anticipated the digital age, climate change, the scope of federal regulatory agencies. They could not take the life of 18th century and be able to take contemporary life and try to figure out how that was going to be decided within the Constitution. How is it possible for the framers to have anticipated what would become of our world? Same-sex marriages, gender equality, even racial equality. All of these were not known by the framers of the Constitution. And so some of the members of the Supreme Court are going to make their decision based upon, well, what was on the framers' mind, because that's how we make our decisions. And we're going to see more and more, some of those laws are going to be interpreted that way, including laws that have been around for many, many generations, for many, many years. That's not Judaism. Judaism says, no, we can't put Jewish law in the deep freeze that way. That was not God's original intent. That's the story. The story is we need to try to make sure that the law is going to be relevant for each generation. And the way to do that is by having the rabbis of each generation, the lawyers, the scholars, they are going to take every little dot, every jot, every tittle, everything in the Torah, and allow that to be used as their interpretation so that it is contemporary, so that it relates to life today. And that's what conservative Judaism is all about. So we are a conservative congregation. And the congregations of the conservative movement are based upon the notion that law needs to be interpreted if it's going to be fresh, if it's going to be relevant to our lives. So I'm going to give you one example of how this works, because something happened this last weekend that was really fascinating. Bonnie and I were in Syracuse, New York last Shabbos. And we were there because our grandson, Gabi, is a student at Syracuse University, 3rd year. Very, very involved in Jewish life there. We're so proud of him. He is involved in Hillel and he is involved in Chabad. He is conducting services on Friday night at Hillel, and then he goes on to Chabad and he helps to serve dinner, Shabbat dinner. And then he comes back again the next day because Hillel does not have Saturday morning services. He's back in Chabad and he's helping to run the service and he's helping to provide for the luncheon afterwards. So Bonnie and I are there at services last Shabbat morning at Chabad house. And it was very nice because the rabbi comes up to me and says, would you like an aliyah? And I said, I would be honored. So at that point in the service, when we got to the Torah service, he says, Yamot. I said, the name. He said, David ben Harab, Mordechai Ilana. David, the son of Mordechai and Ilana. He looks at me and he says, Yamot, David ben Harab, Mordechai. Completely neglected my mother. Because that's what Chabad does. That's what Orthodox Judaism does. Mothers are used when they make a mishaber when somebody is sick. But for purposes of an aliyah, you go by the father. So when there was a lull in the service because we didn't have a complete minyan, I sat, the rabbi actually came over to me. What was interesting, it was not the rabbi who refused to use my name, my mother's name. It was the father of that rabbi, who was also a rabbi of Chabad. And in fact, this wizened, ancient rabbi who founded the Syracuse Chabad 47 years ago, turned it over to his son 2 years ago. And he just kind of comes and enjoys the life of Syracuse Chabad. So he sat next to me and I said to him, why wouldn't he use my mother's name? He says, I guess it's because. Okay. So then I said, because we had some extra time. By the way, he was very proud of how old he was and how vigorous he was. I didn't want to tell him I'm 6 years older than he is. I said, well, as long as we're talking about women and women's role, and why can't a woman be a rabbi? He says, I'll tell you, I came up with this myself. He said, it's like a navigator and a pilot. To fly an airplane, you need a navigator and you need a pilot, but they can't do each other's job. So I looked at him and I said, what if the navigator wants to become the pilot? Can the navigator be trained to become the pilot? He said, well, I can understand what I'm saying to him. Like, can a woman learn how to be a rabbi? Does she always have to be in the kitchen making Shabbos dinner? Is that the navigator? Can't you run the show? He said, women can't be rabbis. And in the conservative movement and the reform movement, they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're not the. And then he said, you see, here's the problem. The reason the navigator can't become the pilot is because the navigator might have deficiencies. I said, you saying women have deficiencies? And then the service resumed. But conservative Judaism says women don't have deficiencies. They can become Supreme Court justices, so they can also be rabbis, and they can write legal documents, and they can study law. And there are other ways in which Judaism is able to be updated, and especially within the conservative movement, through such things as how we observe Shabbat, how we keep kosher. It's not that we don't not keep Shabbat, that we don't not keep kosher, but we do, but there are some ways in which we update the process so that we can use electricity. We don't violate Jewish law. We are able to use the method that the Talmud suggested is a way of interpreting Jewish law, so the essence of the law is maintained. And that's what conservative Judaism is. So I invite you to join with me in learning more about the way in which Judaism has evolved, has continued to stay fresh and relating to the world today and to our lives, relevant to our needs, continues to make Judaism the type of method of observance that can elevate us, lift us up, and help us to become part of a community of like-minded people. So I leave you with one joke, and I hope you understand. It's one of my favorites. So Moses is up on Mount Sinai. Once again, we're getting him, Moses up on Mount Sinai, and God says, now here's another law. Lo tivasheg edi b'chalei l'ma. You shall not boil a kid in his mother's milk. So Moses says, you shouldn't boil a kid in his mother's milk. Yeah, we can't mix milk and meat. God says, you should not mix milk and you should not boil a kid in his mother's milk. And Moses says, you mean we have to wait 6 hours after we have meat before we have milk? God says, you shouldn't boil a kid in his mother's milk. And Moses says, you mean that we have to have separate sets for milking and for fleshing? And God says, have it your own way. And that's where we are today. Let us conclude our service with the singing of Yigdal, page 54.
Very confused if I'm a navigator or a pilot or
You are their better.
but I'm very happy to be here.
Page 54.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא בעיני במציאותו.
אחד יחיד כי ימותו נעלם וגם נצורח.
אין לו דמות הגות ואינו גות, לא נערוך עליו לקודשו.
אלמון לכל דבר רצון
שיתו, הינו אדון עולם בכל נוצר, יורג את גאולתו ומלכותו,
שפע נבואתו נתן
את
סגולתו
תפארתו, לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומעביד את אמונתו.
תורה נתן לעם
למען ביתו, לא יחליף האל ולא ידיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, סופר ויודע
מאמין לעשות דבר וכך
אומר לאיש חסד כפעלו, נותן לרשע כרשעתו.
ישלח את ימים בשבילנו
קץ ישוב תורתו.
Please rise.
מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך אתה השם תהילתו.
מתים יחייל
ברוב
חסדו,
ברוך אתה השם תהילתו.
As we begin a new year with this promise of renewal, I wish so many things for you. May your holiday table be free of political rancor, family grudges, and gossip, but overflowing with words of gratitude, hope, love, and forgiveness. May the internet come under kashrut supervision so all spam will be eliminated. May old folks tell you you're quite grown up for your age if you're young, and young folks tell you you don't look your age if you're old. And may God forgive them both for lying. May you never forget the favors others have done for you, and may you never remember the favors you have done for them. May you forgive your enemies, nothing annoys them more. May you take to heart Judaism's teaching that every human is created in God's image and thus worthy of respect and care. May that awareness add kindness and love to your daily lives. May your medical test result be negative, your mental outlook be positive, and your car never be parked in neutral on a hill. May you learn to keep yourself healthy by eating what you don't want, drinking what you don't like, and doing what you would rather not. May you know the delight of being loved and the fulfillment of loving others. May you give more than you take, laugh more than you cry, and listen more than you talk. May you know that there are angels, God's messengers and agents of kindness and care here on earth, and every day you can be one of them. And may you have a Shana Tova U'Metuka, a good and sweet, healthy and happy new year. Shana Tova.
I know. When I have it still you recognize this. Yeah, but I. Did you use that? I was gonna say, cause I don't. All right, well, I'll see you tomorrow. Here's my name. Why hard to even know, but I recognize it. Right? So, yeah, I'm pretty sure you- then I forgot. But if you would like this. This is fine. Oh, Stan's. I thought it was my other people. It was in a separate subject. Anyway, that's all I have in my bag. Okay, so I just. Nancy, did you get your ticket? Yes. Okay. All right. Wow.